Lori Johnson is an educator at heart. She has a long, beautiful career as a teacher spanning across 4 decades. She's an author and the founder of the Daisy app. She offers other women hope, forgiveness, gratitude, and most importantly, love, and wants women to know they can smile again after profound loss. I read her book, Until Next Time. I strongly recommend it and am pleased that Lori said yes to an interview to dive deeper into it. Lori, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about my book and to spend time with you.
Well, thank you. You mentioned in your book, or at least it starts out with inspired action, which really drew me in right away,
Mhm.
because I definitely have experienced that sense of being inspired to take action. Can you tell me more about the night that you felt that inspiration to write your
Oh,
book?
absolutely. I love talking about this. I had been really looking at, I had retired from teaching. I was still teaching at the college, but I was working in on a whole different area in terms of any kind of a little business or doing something for myself. And I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't aligned with it. It just wasn't, there was no flow. I was really pushing hard on it. And so I started to really try to look at what was serving me and what wasn't, and start clearing away all the things that were just taking up space in my life and my brain and my heart. And I had learned something called Ho'oponopono. And I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but I just fell absolutely head over heels for this practice. And I started practicing it a lot. And I would go for walks with my dog in the forest and just say the four statements. And I actually did a course and got a practitioner certificate. And I really dove deep into Ho'oponopono. And I found that it gave me room to have the opportunity for spirit or the divine to be able to make a connection, because sometimes we get so full of what we think we should be doing, there's no space. So I was sleeping at the cottage one night, which is a favorite place to be, and I was woken up early in the morning with this whisper, and it said, "Write your story." And they said it twice. The whisper was twice, "Write your story." And it was so like, I heard that. I'm looking around and I knew right away that it was not from this world, that it was from outside of myself. And I do believe in God, and I've always had a strong faith. And I knew that which story it was immediately, and knew I had to do it. And it started from that moment with that divine inspiration. But then every time I write a chapter, I would go out for a walk with the dog and practice Ho'oponopono. And halfway through the walk, I'll use the term download, but the words for the chapter would start just coming. And by the time I got back from the walk, I couldn't wait to open up my laptop and start writing. And I had this other music that I listened to that's actually meant to motivate you when you're doing things like this. And I put on my headphones and my fingers would just fly with the words. And I know when you're an author or when you're a writer, you're supposed to have things edited like crazy and, people looking at it, but I just wanted my words to stay the way they had come through me. And yeah, and I've had another woman who read it, who actually used to own her own publishing company, and she's in her 80s and she's wise and she knows so much about the spirit world and all of this type of thing. And she said it was conscious streaming writing.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked that up because I really wasn't sure what she was meaning. And yeah, that's exactly what it would have been. Yeah. So yeah, that's my.
So I know Oponopono as assuming responsibility for your part of a dynamic or a relationship. And I typically apply it when I notice that I'm in judgment of other people around me, then I will
Yes.
use that to sort of separate myself from that judgment. And
Yes.
and obviously like there's the apologizing and the loving part because I think what you judge in other people is also in you. So there is that part.
Yeah.
But
And
it sounds like you were using it almost to sort of open up the channel because you would say it while you were walking.
yeah, I think the original intent for me was to have, your understanding was my understanding. And it goes back to projection that when you're upset with something someone else is doing, it's usually reflecting something that's in yourself that you are not all that comfortable with. So that whole forgiveness piece is forgive myself for just who I am, basically, that you are who you are. And um, I get confused sometimes when it's so big, it's so simple, but it's
Hmm.
really quite complex.
Yes.
And so what I was taught was that whole idea of when you clean and clear, that's what they call it, you're cleaning. And when you are cleaning, you are helping yourself remove all of those things that are that have been maybe blocking or taking up too much space so that the channel's not there. It's
Hmm.
raising your conscience, allowing you to be more open
I love
to
that.
spirit, yeah, to the divine is what I call it. But
Yeah.
I've had some of the books I've read, they call it the big whiteboard. It's just getting yourself so clean,
Yes.
erasing.
Yes.
Yes.
I love that
Yeah.
perspective. I don't think I ever saw it that way, but I totally see that because it does feel like when I do it, it sort of it's a reset, like it start
Yeah.
over from before judging or before thinking things have to be a certain way or that
Yes.
people have to be a certain way. It sort of, yeah, cleans that
Right.
slate. That's so beautiful.
It
Thank-
also actually, sorry, it just if for a moment I'm having thoughts come in that I don't like, that I don't need in my life, that I'm,
Mhm.
somehow sometimes we just have those come in, I will use the four phrases and it immediately takes you away from those. You could call it distraction, whatever you want, but it
Mm.
immediately takes you away from those thoughts and puts you into a more loving, forgiving kind space, which is where we all want to be if we can most of the time in our life.
Yeah, I love that
Hmm.
perspective. Thank you
Oh,
for
you're
sharing
welcome.
that.
Thank you.
And I also noted reading that you describe the experience in your body in real vivid detail. Is
Mhm.
that usual for you? Are you usually that much in your body, or was that new to you at that time?
Um, so just for clarification, you mean when I was writing the book, or do you mean back when it happened?
Right, right. Were you in your I guess when I'm reading the book and to me it feels like in that moment when you were experiencing it, like that's what you're describing. I guess it could be you were feeling it while you were writing the book, but I was
Actually, you
assuming.
know what? You've just clarified it with your last, what you just said.
Mhm.
Because I pushed it away for so long. I just got the messages from everybody, society, you know, we don't want to hear. I'm just not interested. And or maybe not interested, that's very harsh. Maybe it was too hard for people to hear the story. And they didn't know what to say. I wrote in the book some of these women that I had spent some time with. I don't think they knew what to do with me. They didn't
Mhm.
know how to approach it. So it I think when I was writing the book, I allowed, after such a very long time, to feel it like it was happening in that moment, but with the wisdom and the years behind me of not being that young woman in that birthing room having this baby, to understanding a little bit more just from being on this earth and being someone who's a lifelong learner. And I'm always looking at reading or doing something that helps me understand myself more. I don't know if that makes sense.
Mhm. Yes, absolutely.
And it was, that whole the dance of you look again, my daughter's had two children, so you live it through her. My niece has had three. You really start to understand the miraculous body
Hmm.
that females have. I mean, we all have men as well, but
Yes.
to be able to give life is something really special. And it's a dance. And I spoke in the book about even when you're not getting pregnant, there's the dance of the female body with ovulation and then, the PMS or whatever you might be experiencing, but it's all so miraculous. So I
Yes.
think I dug deep into that whole amazing part of who we are as women.
Hmm. Yeah. So that for me touches into what I do, which is really the experience inside your body, really noticing because our
Hmm.
mind kind of distracts us from the experience, and all the wisdom is really stored in here. Um,
Yes.
but you wrote that we experience pain because we love first. And I really contemplated that sentence for a bit because um, it rings so true. And when I reflected on it, all the things that I like felt pain around or suffered around or felt loss around were always things I deeply cared about.
Hmm.
What gave you that
Yes.
insight?
Um, well, I've had a number of experiences with loss. My father died when I was only 18, and it was a sudden death. He was went to the cottage with my mom. My sister and I stayed home, and because we were skating in a competition, and he passed away when he was at the cottage suddenly from a heart attack. And that changed our entire world within an instant. And I think, and then my mom passed away when I was only 45 with young kids. She was 75 from cancer, and she'd been my rock through
Mhm.
the loss of Robbie. And then my first husband has passed away, and then my son. So I guess I think about if the, if I hadn't had the love of my dad in my life, then I wouldn't have experienced the pain of losing him. My mom was just the best person in the world, and
Mhm.
yet I had to, and I loved her so much, but I had to experience that pain because the reality of life is we do lose them
Mhm.
at some point. I had a principal, I did write it in the book, when I went back to school after Robbie passed away, and I could have had a full maternity leave, but I chose to go back because I love to teach and I thought it would be good for me. And he had been a Catholic priest, and he gave up the priesthood because he didn't feel he could live his life fully the way, have children, be married, and
Mhm.
love so much outside of being a priest. And he ended up getting married and having 8 children. And he was like this gift. I know, isn't that funny? He was the just so amazing. And he was like this gift that was put into my life at that time because I'd gone to a new school. We were opening up a new school. It was absolutely for a reason that he was there because he was a priest. He had those skills of counseling and all those types of things. And he said to me one day, because my biggest fear was to try to have another child. Would I be broken again? And actually, people aren't broken. We go through things that hurt us. But and he said, well, you could be a fake rose
Mhm.
and you'll never break again. You don't have to do this. You can stop opening your heart to love, and you will never find that you are ever put at risk again of losing and having this kind of pain. Or you can be the real rose. And yes, you might lose a petal, you might have a stem break, but you have loved completely. And so you become vulnerable to that, to the loss. And when he said that, I went, oh my gosh, yes, that's it. And I chose to continue to love fully with my heart and know that loss could come.
And how do you stand? Do you have a practice to stand on that edge when you're making that decision? Like, do I want to open up to love fully, or will I protect myself?
Actually, I think it comes pretty naturally to me to just, I've always been heart led. My heart is, I've been told on certain occasions that my heart is my biggest problem, especially when I founded a charity that was help training dogs to go into schools to be therapy dogs for children. And one of the board members told me that my heart, my big heart, was getting in the way of the business.
Wow.
And I did end up leaving my own charity because if I can't lead with my heart, I don't want to be a part of something. And so I think to answer your question, I think I will always take that leap without thinking too much about it because it's kind of just the way I've always been.
Wow.
If that
Beautiful.
does that make sense?
Yes. Which it probably why you chose not to press charges, even though people around you were encouraging you. Like
I
you,
just got
you,
goosebumps when you said that. That's
yeah,
how still in my body
yes,
this experience can be. Yes.
yeah. And like you understood too that it would be years of reliving something that you didn't want to experience in the
And
first place. It
yeah,
wouldn't bring
and
healing because the only healing would be bringing your son back.
yes. And to, I'm so happy now that I've been given this, invitation by the divine to share his story because my biggest fear was that no one would have known him and no one would remember him or
Mm,
speak of him. And I was actually the biggest reason why people didn't speak of him because
mhm,
I wouldn't initiate the conversations after a while. And so to be able to create a legacy now for him because of the love means so much to me. And going through a lawsuit and being right
mm,
and getting money, how does that create a legacy of love? And honestly, the doctor, she didn't want this to happen.
mhm,
She didn't go into that delivery room as a doctor who gave up so much of her life, first of all, to train to be a doctor and then to be an obstetrician. You're, called away from your own family. Um, this was not something that she would have wanted to happen.
mhm.
And so I was able to forgive her because I knew that this was not what she would have ever wanted the outcome to be.
And that's so important to understand, and yet so difficult to understand that no one is waking up in the morning thinking, I'm going to cause someone harm today.
Oh, yeah.
Like we're all trying to navigate life, we're all searching for love, and we're in contact with other humans. We make mistakes, things
Yes.
unravel. But it, like you said,
Uh,
like she went to school to save people, to heal
Yes.
people, not to harm.
And she was a mother of four children herself. If anybody is going to feel the depth of my and my husband's pain, it would have been her from lived
Mhm.
experience of being a parent. And it was a very traumatic. I realized just recently, after I wrote the book and working through the content for the Daisy app, that the other thing that was never acknowledged when it happened was the trauma that we
Mhm.
went through, physically,
Yeah.
emotionally, spiritually. The delivery room was a chaotic, really
Mhm.
scary place to be near the end when it all started to unfold the way it was going to unfold. And they also had where they were working on him right there beside us. Like they brought all that equipment in to take care of him when he was finally able to get out. So it was, and the delivery room became full of people um, trying to help him.
Mhm.
And yeah, so um, but I have two beautiful children. My son is a gift, and I have two grandchildren now, and a similar experience which you would have read happened to my daughter,
Mm,
but we stepped up and took care of that in a
yeah.
hurry. And I always call that little grandson my second chance
Yes.
kid.
Yeah. I totally
Mhm.
relate. Like I know there's people who have great birth stories. I have a very traumatic birth story for
Do
my first
you?
daughter.
Oh,
She's alive and well.
yes.
But it was pretty traumatic, and also like the idea of suing, going after them
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
um and not wanting to, because I didn't want my life to be about that. I wanted to move on as well.
Yes.
So, even though it's not always a loss in the sense of a life, sometimes
Right.
there's other losses that
Of
happen
course.
at birth.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm so admiring you because you're choosing the gratitude and appreciation
Mhm.
of this beautiful child that you have. We can get so stuck. And I speak in the book too about the neural pathways that we create and feeling sad and really in deep grief, pain, or pain from what the trauma of what happened with you. We can create those neural pathways, and then that's the way we stay.
Hmm.
So it's really important to allow
Absolutely.
ourselves to grieve and go through all the pain that we need to experience without getting stuck there and letting it drive the rest of our existence.
Yes. I like to think of it like like the domino effect. So every choice that you make in this moment is a potential, domino effect to something,
Yes.
right? So every moment you get to choose again, to sort of restart, but what is it leading to down the road? Is
Yes.
it leading towards like either life or death? If those were the two
Yes.
decisions, right? Like is it an increase or a decrease? So,
Hmm.
choose carefully, because every
Yes.
given moment you're headed towards something, and
Right.
you always get to choose again, even if you feel like
Yes.
you're halfway through and you're
Yeah.
deciding, no, you know what, maybe that's not where I wanted to go, because often we get swept into it and now we've
Yes.
gone this far, so we're going to carry it to the end. But I tend to think, no, like every second of every day, you get to say, you know what, I'm making a new choice. I'm now going to
Yeah.
go on this
Yes. Oh,
road. So,
we always have choice. It's whether
yes,
we accept that agency.
yes, exactly.
Yes.
And then
I wanted to, sorry, go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
Actually, it's gone out of my mind now, so you go
Okay.
ahead.
So in your book, the I think the biggest topic, the most important one, the one least talked about, is how to handle grief. Like, because you mentioned people started pretending it didn't happen,
Mhm.
and you were grappling with not wanting to forget your son, like not wanting his memory to be forgotten. You wanted people to talk about it. And yet it's really hard, because we feel like if we talk about it, that we might trigger the person who is grieving. And we don't have an understanding of the grief
Yes.
they're going through. And so we don't know, can they handle speaking of it? Can we handle
Mhm.
their grief? So there's this kind of back and forth mirroring. So
Yes.
what did you want? Like, what would you want people to know in those moments? Like, how did you want people to approach it? What did you wish they said or did? Or maybe when you were speaking of it, how did you want them to approach it? Like, what would you like people to know?
I guess that when I go right back to that time, I just wanted people to acknowledge that I had a son, and his name was Robert William Johnson. And he was meant to live out a full life with us, his parents and his sister, and that he existed, I guess. And so when I went to the cottage with the girls, and one of the girls had just had a baby too, they spoke, and again, I don't hold them in any kind
Mhm.
of like, who would have
Yes.
known how to do this?
Yeah.
But they asked her how she was feeling. And, when you have a baby, you talk about how's your body feeling? Are you back to working out? Or, all those things. And no one even acknowledged that I just had a baby too.
Hmm.
And my body was going through exactly what hers was going through. I just didn't have the living child anymore. Um, I think too, this happened with one person who was really close to me, and I'm just going to leave that out of the conversation because, again, it's so many years later and we've grown and learned. But every time I would try to talk about him, because she was so close to me, she would say there would be a comparison. Well, when I had my child and he was born early and he had this, and never just, I hear you.
Mm.
I hear you, Lori. I can't even imagine what it must have been like or how scary it was. And again, I think that's just the the uncomfortableness of it. And I think that's why there's so much silence around it,
Hmm.
even today. It's just the World Health Organization actually speaks a lot on their website about the deafening silence.
Yes. Yeah. Do you think it's
And
because we don't know how to feel? Like we don't, we spend a lot of time trying to feel better, but we don't really spend time getting better at feeling. So just acknowledging that you have feelings and being able to sit quietly with that. Like, do you need a moment? We just sit together in
yeah,
silence, like feeling that loss,
yes,
that
and
grief.
they're yeah, and it doesn't even you don't even have to talk.
Hmm.
Just put your arms around that person and let them know through the bodies, through your
Mm.
body language that you know and you care. It's
That's
there's a lot of work to be done. And that's what's behind the Daisy app is giving women a safe place to well, it's open to whoever wants to come in. It's not just for women. It's because I think we often too don't acknowledge the depth of loss of the
Mhm.
father.
Yes.
It's hugely deep.
Yeah.
It's they've lost a child too, and that's why it's so difficult as the parents because you're on this roller coaster together. If one, let's say I lost my mother, my husband could support me because even though he loved her, it wasn't his mother.
Yes.
And he can pull you off that roller coaster, help you get grounded and get through it. Where when you're both just riding it and it's
Yeah.
going fast and you really
Yes.
can't get off together. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I totally relate because like um the birth of my first child was a very traumatic experience. And what I didn't figure out until much later was that my husband watching was also a
Yes.
trauma, like it was traumatic to him, but I
Yeah.
was expecting him to be able to support.
Right.
Like I went through this, right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
I went through this and I never really saw that he had to witness it and was
Hmm.
powerless to do
Yes.
anything about it.
Exactly. And he
Yeah.
loved both of you,
Yeah.
and they just, yeah, it's the app right now is to support people with the loss
Hmm.
of a child, a baby miscarriage. But I'm hoping to make it more of a not the app so much because it's got its own personal journey, but I do really want to start to try to find a way to give this a voice.
Yes.
Just like the question you just asked, what is it that we can do to make it more comfortable?
Yeah.
And
And and then even that idea with her husband's like we're going through so much. How do we like make room for their experience too?
mhm,
Like, what is it that is
absolutely,
it that
yes,
we're afraid to ask or that we don't even see, we don't even realize like because we're
yes,
so buried into our own experience.
yes. And again, that brings in the body, our bodies. We're going through what we go through after we have children, which is our bodies are trying to heal, our hormones are a mess. You know, we're not the same. This is maybe too forward, but our breasts are not what they used to be for intimacy.
Yes.
They're now what keeps our babies alive. Everything changes.
Yes.
And so we're grappling with all of those, all the newness around being a new mother. Our job, we're not in our careers anymore. We're staying at home with this little infant that gives us nothing but need. So yes, it's in fairness to the women, it's hard to think about what they might be going through. And in
Hmm.
your situation after a traumatic birth,
Hmm.
you're not really going to be in the head space or the body space to be able to even see him for what he went through.
Hmm. And
Because we're
then
just,
you share the last words of a dying boy, which I think relates to this, like to his mom. He says, "Mom, it's also simple. It's
I just
also
got
simple."
goosebumps again. Oh my gosh. Yes.
So why do you think, and I do believe it is simple. I think we complicate things, but why is that? Like, what is that complication? What creates that?
Well, I think, and you asked me, I'm just looking it up here because just want to make sure I get what I think you asked me if I second guess whether I could love enough again
Mm,
because of the pain that might come.
mm,
I think we make things so complicated and it could be so simple if we just focused on love first, because love is the opposite of if we can love, then
hmm.
we don't feel the fear as
Yeah.
much. The love is replaces the fear. Forgive, then we don't, it can be so simple. We don't harbor all of these. We don't have to practice Ho'oponopono every day like crazy because
Hmm.
we're projecting so many of things onto others because we haven't forgiven ourselves.
Mm,
Hope, if we have hope, it becomes more simple because we can look forward to what's ahead and what's beautiful. And did I say gratitude?
not yet, but
Gratitude. You
yeah.
know, I talk about when I was teaching school, really quick. I used to, every year I would start out by trying to create a community and a safe place because you can't learn if you don't feel safe. So that
Hmm.
was my goal. Sometimes it took 2 weeks. Sometimes we could be nearing Christmas and we're still trying to create this community depending on the class. So I would always teach them about gratitude. And you got grade sevens who, what do you think maybe you could be grateful for? Nothing, life sucks. Like they're really having a hard time with it. So I'd say to them, when you open your eyes, can you see? Yeah. Like, what do you think? Yeah. Well, there's your first gratitude. Oh, yeah, I guess. And talk about people who can't open their eyes and see. Can you swing your legs over the bed and
Mm,
stand up? Yeah. And by the time they got to the bathroom to brush their teeth, we could have 10 gratitudes. And then they started to be grateful for each other and
mm.
their strengths. And so I guess just to go back to your question, I think the simplicity is around finding those things first and foremost.
That's
And
beautiful.
that's, yeah, I hope I answered your question. I know I kind of went, I tend to go
Yes,
around and
but that
around
was
and
perfect because I wanted to ask what it looked like in your life. So you answered that. You answered it all. You knew
yeah,
where I was going. And then you're talking about how it's like microscopic little sparks of
yes,
gratitude, which brings us to that faith of a mustard seed.
yeah,
How like climbing any mountain before you is
yeah,
possible if you have the smallest amount of faith that you can do it.
yes,
Um,
yes.
I
It
think
doesn't
it's
have to be huge. You don't have to have anything but that tiny little wee mustard seed to be able to begin.
yes, yeah. And I always think in terms as well of the whatever you do, whatever you endeavor to do, the hardest part is always the starting, which
Yes.
seems
Yeah.
minute, like we overlook it. It's this
Hmm.
minute step, but that step is the hardest one
Yeah.
usually. So you don't,
I just watched documentary on Christopher Reeves.
Oh, wow.
Superman.
Yes.
And he fell off his horse
Yes.
and broke his neck. And oh my goodness, like the story from a bigger picture story that he managed to go back to advocating for spinal cord injury and raised a ton of money for research. But when you see the minute little steps that he needed to take just to take a breath on a
Mm.
ventilator,
Yeah.
it just made me really, first of all, I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad I'm healthy and hope that nothing like that ever happens to anybody I love or myself. But it was very powerful on
Absolutely.
those tiny little steps.
Yes. Which,
Mhm.
brings back the gratitude. We tend to overlook all the blessings that we have, and
Mhm.
there's always people who don't have
Yes.
some of the even the ability to breathe easily without
Yeah.
even thinking of it. That's
Yes.
something that someone is doesn't have.
Yes.
So important.
Absolutely. And every time we have a little blip with our health, that for me is a big wake up call too, that, oh my goodness, I feel so good. And I didn't be like, I just got over
Yes.
pneumonia actually, and my lungs were not great. And now I'm like, oh my God, I have so much appreciation for breathing,
Yes.
which,
I
so,
Yeah, I find that sometimes illness is a reminder of something
mhm,
you have, and we don't appreciate what we have until we risk losing it.
mhm. And
So,
it's making it simple enough that we appreciate, um, just try to start your day with appreciation. We instead of always wanting more, really appreciating what we have in our, and they say what you focus, what's that? What we appreciate appreciates.
yes,
So
yes, what you focus
yeah,
on grows. Yeah,
yes,
what you
yeah.
appreciate. I've heard that too.
Hmm.
What's one thing you want to everyone to know today?
That grief never goes away. It evolves, it transforms, but love never ends.
Mm, that's beautiful.
And to be give yourself grace and space, feel it. You can't go through it, or sorry, you can't go under it, over it, around it. You have to
Mm,
go through it. Just give yourself the time to, and seek out support if you think that that would help. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
beautiful. Thank you so much, Lori. Your book is a gift. It
Oh,
was such a
thank you.
pleasure being with you today. And for those watching, be sure to pick up a copy of her book or follow the links that are in the description to find out more about Lori. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me. Have a good day. Yay. Mwah.
Yay.
Bye-bye.